Cheese, episode 513. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
Mark Augustiniak.
Hey.
Jackie Wait, not yet. He's not here yet. The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. We're right in the thick of Season 11. Right in the thick of adding another game to the list. The Darkness joins the list this week over at thefreecheese.com/the list, where you can follow along with all of the games we've rated and ranked and reviewed and discussed. Before we dive into The Darkness and all of its fine greater details, which comic book character do you believe needs its own video game? Matt, what was your gut reaction? I said, which comic book character needs a video game?
Batman. Because that was the first character I thought of.
I don't disagree with that after how... Yeah, Gotham Knights shook out. Mark, what about you? What was your gut reaction?
Constantine.
No, that's a good answer.
I know there's like the movie game, whatever, but like I don't want that. I want straight up like comic book, like.
This is, you're right, it needs to be a proper thing, but I will give credit where it's due. I do think that the Justice League Dark tie-in stuff to DC Universe Online was done pretty well, especially with Constantine's characterization.
Right, but how many people want to play DC Universe Online right now versus like a single-player game?
Speak for yourself. I just installed it a week ago and promptly...
Do they have a battle pass?
Played it for 4 minutes. I don't know. But, they're still out there doing their thing, which I respect. Getting it in there. Matt, with some time to think, who would you like to see a video game feature?
My gut's now it's leading me towards Ant-Man, because I don't think there's a proper Ant-Man video game.
Yeah, I know. The best you're going to have is like a Lego adaptation, right? Of the character, but not a full...
Oh, that would be so much fun.
Turn into a kaiju game at points towards the end.
Yeah, that'd be neat. That'd be very neat.
Which playing a kaiju-like game right now currently, if done right, it can be fun.
More on that, season 12. No.
No.
Mark, who else needs one?
Usagi Yojimbo.
I'm surprised. Well, you're kind of getting a taste, right? In the update to Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah, but I want like I mean, that's awesome. I love that so much. I'm so happy they did that. Because now the game's perfect. But
yeah,
having like a full like 3D, maybe like I guess like Ghost of Tsushima like type of game.
That'd be very fun. Yeah. All right, so the hipster, what used to work at a comic shop in me would be upset if I didn't choose a non-cape. So let's just say they should adapt Ghost World for a cool indie visual novel tie-in kind of thing. Or maybe you actually like control through, you get to navigate through an adapted version of Daniel Close's art, and you get to actually go record shopping and do all the things that the girls did. That'd be great. Make Ghost World into a video game.
Yeah, that would be cool.
However, my gut reaction was we need a Flash video game. We need, like, super speed. And again, DC Universe Online, I think, did it pretty well in terms of super speed, but you could do it better.
It should be like, as soon as you start it and you tilt on the joystick, it goes to the credits.
That'd be fun. And then you run so far, you get back to the beginning of the story. That'd be a good gag. The other answer
to SSDs on that as well. Fast loading times.
Oh yeah, you would. Yeah, that could show off. That's the thing. So DC's, or rather, PlayStation has its Marvel Spider-Man, right? Exclusivity. Go the next step, right? Like, start branching out. Let's get some other licenses exclusive to, like, take advantage of the PlayStation hardware. I think
Surprised you didn't say Green Lantern.
So, follow up. Well, go ahead, Matt. You got more on Flash?
Oh, I was just going to say, we've seen a character go fast, and the pop-in textures were not great.
But the music was killer.
Sure, yeah, the music was killer. It had nothing to do with speed.
Well, we could blame that on the Switch.
What?
They had to target the Switch, and then it made the rest of Frontiers. You're talking about Frontiers, yeah?
Yeah, I'm talking about Frontiers.
I feel like if they could have targeted...
because they had to support that platform, that things just had to be a little more limited?
I believe in my heart of hearts, that's where we're at with that.
Say, some games just don't get made because of, like, they have to support the Xbox One.
Yeah.
So it's like, a game suffers because of it.
It's a shame. But... If you could make Sonic Frontiers a Flash game and all open world through a city, sold. But yeah, Mark, Green Lantern is the correct answer. There was like a
Flash
tiny
DLC.
Yeah, I do that. There was a tiny hint at some point that Rocksteady's next game would be a Green Lantern game. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. At some point they were working on a Superman game, they were working on a Suicide Squad game that got canceled, then
I thought they were doing a Justice League game at some point too.
Yeah, right. And now they're eventually doing that Suicide Squad game that should have been canceled. But I'd ran in my imagination with a Green Lantern game that was basically Destiny but Green Lantern, and I still think it's the best video game idea ever. Like, if you just got recruited into the Corps, you got to get your ring. And if you think about it from a Destiny perspective, and the way that the Green Lantern mythos have expanded, you could do 10 years of content in that, right? Where, like, by, like, year 2, you bring in the Sinestro Corps War, and then you could have the option as a player to change factions, so then you're right? Like, you could do all of this stuff. The red rings, blah, blah, blah. We get to the event in year 5, where you're doing Blackest Night. I mean, it's all right there.
That would be cool.
It's right there. If James Gunn's is out there...
40 currencies in that game.
I'd do it for 20.
Well, to be fair, each planet probably has their own currency, right? So,
true.
You gotta think about it like that.
Right.
Which Destiny already did. The template's
Actually,
there.
no. The currency would be your different spectrum of emotions or whatever. Like,
that'd be one of the currencies. That'd be the main currency to level
how much
up your
fear,
character.
how much rage, how much.
That'd be yeah. Depending on how you interacted with. Yeah. Anyway, that's for another time. Hopefully, there's someone out there building that game quietly. That we're doing that. Otherwise, we're just going to get to a point where, I don't know, I build it in dreams, and we get to all play my version of Green Lantern in dreams. But until then, we do have backwards compatibility on the Xbox family of platforms, and the PC offers this here video game to continue to enjoy. Developed by Starbreeze, published by 2K, The Darkness released on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 on June 25th, 2007. The back of the box tantalizes us with the following description. You are Jackie Estacado, a hitman for the Franchetti crime family. On your 21st birthday, a timeless force known as the Darkness awakens within you. You can wreak havoc on your enemies with the powers it bestows, but you'll quickly learn that the Darkness has a will of its own. And of course, our favorite, we have some call out here. Accompanying 3 screenshots, we've got wield the Darkness to devour, impale, or implode your enemies. Summon sadistic demons called Darklings to do your bidding. And finally, shapeshift from a Darkling to a human for insane multiplayer action. There you have it. Right. Yeah. Everything had to have multiplayer, I guess. This is even ahead of the everything had to have multiplayer trend, but everything could have multiplayer, so why not throw it in there? This is the Darkness based on the Darkness comic book, which is why we opened with conversation around comic books. That wasn't just us being tangential for tangential's sake. This is a Top Cow comic book, and spoiler alert for the video game, but you kind of, I mean, knowing what I know of the comic book now, they pretty much just do the first couple of arcs of the comic book in one video game pretty faithfully as well. So if you're a fan of the comic, I think you can kind of slip right into the darkness and feel right at home. But if you're not, and you've not read the comics, I think they do a great job of adapting the source material. So, yeah, it's an easy transition. Mark, this is a Mark game for the list. What brought you to bring the darkness to us?
I have a odd, distant history with the darkness. Started way back in the year 1990. I don't know, 5 or something. I don't know when the comic first came out, but my oldest brother had a subscription to a magazine called Wizard, and I think that eventually evolved into Wizards of the Coast. I'm not sure. They're not related, are they?
I think
Wizard
they're separate. Yeah, Wizard was just the comic
there was a lot of
magazine.
ads within
They're
it.
definitely, yeah, for sure.
And I didn't know what the hell I was reading as a kid. I would just look through it and whatever. And there would always be little like advertisements for a lot of like Image or Top Cow comics in there. So like you would probably have like your Darkness, you got your Witchblade that would cross over, you would get your Evil Ernie, you get your Danger Girl, just Lady Death, just a lot of like that type of like very like gothic dark fantasy, or just like I guess more adult aimed comic books without realizing it, but as a kid. But I was just always enthralled by like just that artwork and everything, and never knew how to like I knew it was comic book related, but yet at the same time never was aware of comic book shops as a kid. Like I didn't know anywhere around me for the longest time. I thought they were like the only way for me to really acquire comics was either through a 7-Eleven, a grocery store, or a convention in a hotel lobby, or like a flea market. Like those were like the only ways I could acquire anything like that. So like the darkness was always like a mystery to me. I only knew it through the artwork that I would see. And then fast forward to the video game when that comes out, I just hear everybody praise it. Everybody's talking about how much they like it. I've never played it, so this is my first time playing it. Was for this podcast. And the first jarring thing I realized is that he doesn't have that sick ass costume. He's just some Crow Neo wannabe, like,
Yeah.
looking thing. And I was like, do you ever get it? And spoiler, you don't. Not even in the second game.
I was going to ask, what about the second game? Interesting. It's weird.
So towards the end of the second one, it starts to get more comic book feeling with some characters and how it ends, but they just tease it.
Now, one thing, I'm jumping ahead a bit here, but this game features a lot of collectibles in various forms, and one of the things you can start to find are outfits for the...
Oh, are they?
Yeah, but I guess none of those end up being this. I don't think they're actually outfits for Jackie. I think they're more outfits for the actual
multiplayer or
darkness.
something?
Like you get like a firefighter's helmet to go onto the heads of the little...
Okay. Yeah, like it's just I don't, maybe it was too weird to incorporate a 90s like comic book costume to a game like this, or maybe they wanted to be a little more grounded by not having that, but I don't know. I don't know. It's very weird, but I guess I have a question for you, Joe. How does it feel to have Italian representation for a Spawn-like character? Excuse me.
So great,
It's kinda
I would
similar,
say.
right?
Yeah, generally it feels incredible. Yeah, I feel the heritage is strong with this. There's so many like New York Italian tropes that you see in, I think, any media, but especially it's present in this, and like this type of like mafia style story that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I was inherently surprised that it was so mafia heavy. especially remembering. So you talked a bit about your kind of exposure to it, just kind of hearing generally the buzz that this game was good. It takes you back to the comic book. I'd never heard of this at all. This just no idea. And then I'm watching, I don't know if it was X-Play or Attack of the Show, but it was one or the other. At this point, I did not have a 360, but my brother had a 360. And watching whatever show, they were like, they showed off gameplay of it, and it was really finite. Like, it was just showing, like, the, what's it called? The actual, what do they call it? The darkness. They call it the tentacles. They're showing, like, the tentacle play. And they were like, yeah, you can go on the Xbox game, because this is also a time where, like, downloading things was new and novel, right? So they're like, you can go on your Xbox right now and download a demo for this game. And I remember being like, oh, let me do that. Like, switch the input on the TV, fire up the Xbox, and, like, downloaded a demo for the game. And it's still, like, I don't know if you guys had this or not in the early 360 days, but, like, downloading a demo and trying Xbox demos felt so magical. Like, it was this special thing that just,
I loved it.
It was so cool. Like, I'd play all these weird things that I remember playing a demo for, like, Fear. Fear. Alone in the Dark had a demo. There were a couple things that, like, around this era just had demos, and, like, this was the one though that, like, I remember standing out. Like, when I think back to Xbox 360 demos, it's this game is just that instantaneous bit of, like, oh, the future's here. Like, we're able to do this now, where you can see something on a television program and then play it within seconds. And I never touched it after that. I played that demo in my memory. The demo was just, like, wandering through one of the subway stations with the darkness and attacking things and shooting, and that was about it, because I probably at that time downloaded 3 other things and did those, and that was that. But Matt, do you remember the first time you heard about the darkness? Or
so I don't know anymore. As you may have been seeing my jaw drop while you all were talking in the Discord. I have been mistaking this game for Darksiders up until this very point.
Ooh, understandable though, for a little bit. There's some,
like, when you said in the second game it doesn't even pop up, I was about to quickly say, well, what about the third game? Because there is a Darksiders 3 game. And then I was like, well, who did the Darkness 3? Let me see real quick. And I quickly realized, the Darkness is a 2-part.
Darksiders is a fun game. I recommend that to people. If they
Matt, how was where does Darksiders rank on the list?
So I don't know when I heard this game. The podcast included.
Yeah,
I'm like, obviously I played this, but it's it's sorry. This entire time I thought there was a third game.
I think there could be. There should be, maybe. I don't know. Developers.
There was probably gonna be had it been successful, I guess.
The second one didn't do well? Because I thought the first one was pretty well received.
I thought the second one was well received too. I know the second one's not Starbreeze though. It switches.
Oh, okay. That could do it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That could do it.
Like,
when I was THQ though.
Yeah, like when I was submitting games for us to play, like when I thought about this one, I didn't give it too much thought. It was just like, I just always wanted to try it. So this is it. This is just one of those games.
It has the flavor of something you would have played and loved back then. Like, it's definitely in the Mark 360 era.
I can see that.
So I thought you had played it before this.
Yeah, surprisingly.
But yeah, my literal first note, outside of me saying, wait, there are actors in this game, was that I forgot this was like a mob thing, is the note I've written down, because I didn't realize that. They lean into it at the beginning, and you got to remember, for people not familiar or who weren't around at the time, or even if you were and you've forgotten, like, we are at the middle of the end of the final season of The Sopranos. They're like, that kind of thing is very vibrant pop culture. I still feel like even today there's movies left and right that have the like stereotypical mafia whatever, but there's movies left and right back then that had that kind of thing going for it. I mean, this is a trope that I don't think has ever left, and nor will it ever leave. The thing I found interesting about this even then is like, how did they get to the point where this got turned into a game? Because like we talked about at the top of the show, there's so many comic book characters that are large, huge franchises, no disrespect to The Darkness nor Top Cow Productions or Mark Silvestri himself. There's so many other characters who've not seen a video game, and a successful one at that, like, why The Darkness? Why did this get to the point where it was turned into a video game and adapted and whatever? But I don't know. I think it's cool that it did, because I think it was a cool game overall. I guess let's jump a little bit into the plot. So the game starts with a mob chase, a classic old police chase through the some tunnel in New York. Did they say that? Did they name the tunnel? I don't know.
I don't remember them.
And it's there where you're kind of like watching things unfold. It is Jackie's 21st birthday as this is all happening. And as the shootout's occurring, that's when you get to the end of the tunnel, and that's where you realize, oh, Jackie's got powers. Like, and then now you've got to escape. Now stuff's going down. You need to not only outrun the police who you've just kind of left in your tail, but there's all the whispers about Jackie's uncle, Paulie, right? Uncle Paulie?
That sounds right.
Yes.
And Paulie wants Jackie dead because he thinks that Jackie might be trying to move in on his territory. And that's it, but that's all it ever is, right? Like, there's no that we know, unless I completely missed something. But yeah, Jackie doesn't do anything. It's just kind of all in Paulie's head that he starts this whole war. Jackie claps back, and then we go from there. But the game, and this is, listeners, where we'll start to probably dive into a bit of the actual through line plot, because it gets a little weird. The game does go places, timeline wise. So you play through the first chunk of the game, and maybe I'll omit some of the big plot points unless you guys feel they're super integral into our conversation.
I would admit a couple of them.
Yeah. But, there's like one that happens, I would say, toward the end of what I'd consider like the first act, maybe, or chapter. I don't know what
So the game has chapters, by the way. I don't know when they start or end, but there are 5 chapters.
Okay. And I know that like you get achievements for like getting through the first part, but I feel like I only got like 3 of those. It was like,
I don't
finish the first part, finish the second part, and then finish the game. I think were the 3 I got. I don't remember, but
I don't know where the chapters start or end. But yeah, I would say chapter maybe 1 ends with that.
Yeah, that chapter, I would call it chapter 1, ends with a moment, and then out of nowhere you are transported into World War I. And you're still Jackie. You're still in the leather trench coat. Don't worry. But you are wandering around in World War I. And this is where you kind of learn that the darkness is something that is part of Jackie's bloodline. It's been carried down through generations, and you're sort of uncovering the secrets of that. And then the game kind of turns into, it's not like a complete back and forth where you're jumping from world to world, but as the game's story progresses, you're jumping between this modern day New York mob story and this old World War II journey where Jackie's unlocking the darkness, or acquiring the darkness, or rather his bloodline is.
Sure.
How did you, I guess just looking at the story overall, what were your key takeaways? What are your overall impressions of that? What's the darkness feel like to you?
Max Payne.
100% agree. Yes.
From the monologues that were disguised as loading screens, but from the monologues to the kind of the mobster mentality of it, I kind of took these World War One segments as the nightmare segments of Max Payne. And then just like Jackie's Night. Oh, although this, I think for you, the player, and Jackie, it all kind of feels like one night, but timeline wise, this does take place over a few weeks because of your transportation in real world. It is like a couple weeks before you come back or whatever. That gets weird, but for you, the player, and Jackie, it does feel like one night, and it's like one night of like things just continuously getting worse and worse and worse, which is very much Max Payne. Yeah, no, I just like just from the start. I mean, Max Payne. You're not more so thrown into it. It's kind of like he was in a bad place at a bad time, and then his night spirals out of control. This seemed more like a hit out on him, and then his night starts to spiral out of control. But yeah, no, that's all I kept thinking the entire time was like how close we are to Max Payne, down to the leather trench coat.
Spot on.
Yeah, that the dual wielding guns that are then accompanied by, I mean, right?
Yeah.
I think that they probably. I would be surprised if they did not find influence from Max Payne when making this game, because it had been a few years since Max Payne released. I would imagine it was probably even in the pitch document, like, hey, we can do this and we can.
Well, I'm not sure, but does 2K own Max Payne by this point too?
I don't know. I do know that this one changed publishers right before launch. So 2K is the publisher, but it was, oh boy,
I might be able to find it.
Majesco.
Haven't seen that in a while.
I know, right?
Is Majesco the one where it has like the bandit mask as their icon?
That sounds right.
No, unless that's a newer logo.
Oh no, you're thinking of Ban Presto.
Am I? Okay.
Majesco, I feel like I remember their old logo. They've got a newer logo now, but yeah. Ban Presto is the one I think you might be thinking of, Mark.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so overall, I mean, it is a traditional video game. You start the game with a finite amount of weapons, finite amount of darkness powers, and as you go through the game, you will unlock more powers for the tentacles to do, new guns, gun types, and then also new summons. So, kind of mentioned that from the back of the box, that you have these darklings that you can summon. And by the end of the game, you have 4 major darkling types. You have the gunner, who will also shoot you. Spoiler.
Yep. Don't stand in the way. Yeah, don't stand in his way.
You have is it Berserker?
Yeah, that seems right. Like the first one you
get. He will
get.
just sort of like charge and punch and jump on people's faces and attack. There's the kamikaze, who will run and blow itself up against an opponent. And then the light destroyer, is that the name of it?
Light touch? Light killer? Might be
light killer, that might be it, yeah. Mm-hmm. That one seeks out light sources and destroys them with kind of lightning attack. And it brings us to the light in this game. So the game, surprisingly, or not surprisingly rather, with a title like The Darkness, Jackie earns, or rather the darkness earns its power by spending more time in the darkness. The strange thing about this is that, again, maybe this is not, maybe I missed something, but there's no meter. Like, you don't have a darkness meter that's visible. There is one, for sure, because you need a certain amount of darkness to summon the darkness. But there's no, like, physical way to know it. You just kind of press the left bumper to call out the tentacles and nothing happens, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm still in the light. But what's neat is any source of light can be extinguished. So you shoot them out. Once you summon, or you have the ability to summon a light killer, it can zap lights and blow out light bulbs. But that kind of is how you spend your game. You enter an area, you kind of spend your time killing enemies and lights, and then you summon darkness to attack them along the way. Guns run the standard fare, I think, from pistols to sort of like a submachine gun to a shotgun. Eventually you unlock darkness guns that you can use. But in addition to those, your other powers, you have the first one you have darkness power is, well, actually, let's save that one because that's actually the most fun, I think. But you later will unlock kind of a tentacle that can grab and move things. So if there's an obstacle in your way, you can kind of press and hold your tentacle, grab that, move a box out of the way, and you open up a stairwell. You unlock a black hole that just sort of sucks anything nearby into it. The guns, is it just 4, right? And then there's the original like boy you send out. I forget the name of that one now.
I think it's the Creeping Dark.
The Creeping Dark. Thank you. Yes, you are right. So when you send out the Creeping Dark, you're really just kind of taking control at that point of one of the tentacles. And I pushed the limits of this because I was pretty curious to see how far you could go. Because it seems like something that would reach a certain point and it would retract. But basically, if you've not played it and you're not familiar with it, you press the button to start controlling the Creeping Dark, and you're just guiding a tentacle just like you would a character. Jackie stays in whatever position you left him in, and the Creeping Dark goes out and searches, and you can also use it to attack, open doors, and of course devour hearts of the fallen enemies.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of like a snake cam type of
it
thing.
is
Where
full.
it's like you're always sticking to a floor or a wall. You're never like hovering.
Yeah,
and the perspective too of the camera, it's very much snake. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on that one.
And the controls shift where like you can't do the things you'd consciously think to do because you are in that snake view. So like to go up a wall, like you have to kind of just push until the snake changes direction and then ride the wall. But there's a part toward the end of the game where you have to kill a captain on a boat. That's like your mission marker. And I spent a good time just killing everything on that boat with the Creeping Dark. And like doing it by just making my way through all these little caverns and stairs and up and down and around outsides and everything. And then like occasionally I'd get shot at and the dark will retract and you have to basically watch it all get sucked back up in reverse motion. But you can kind of stretch that thing pretty far so long as you have enough darkness level. We covered story, we covered gameplay a little bit. I kind of want to talk about the world itself because I found the world to be the most fascinating piece for me. Like, as I played through, the story is a stereotypical mob story to an extent, right? There's beef within a family. You gotta squash the beef or kill each other. So let's go kill each other and check this out. I've got superpowers. I think that kind of, so the story was the part where I felt like it was the weakest. I mean, it's fine. It didn't offend me. It wasn't like the story's so bad and dumb that I don't want to be here, but it was just like, no surprises, well, that's not true. I guess going back to World War I was kind of a surprise. That was I did not expect that in this game at all. But the gameplay, I think, was unique as well, right? Like it's a first person shooter, but also there's powers that you have. I think that kept me going for a bit, but honestly, it's like seeing and exploring the stuff within the world. And I want to hear your guys, the things that stood out to you as you kind of played through. But one of the things for me was like pretty early on using the actual subway map. Now I know not all real world subway maps say Paulie's Mansion on them, but this one does. But like actually being able to use a subway map to take, because like the two of the main subway stations you ride back and forth from in the game, Fulton and Canal, are real New York subway stations, and like they painstakingly like recreate, I mean, not exactly those stations, right? They're whatever, but like just like the tiles in the wall where it says Fulton Street, like it just looks like you're in New York. It's cool. And like being able to like there was a point in the game where I probably didn't pay attention to what Jimmy the Grape told me or someone else told me or whatever, and I didn't realize what my next mission marker was. But I knew that I had to get to, and now I don't remember which one it was. I had to get to some street, and I was looking, and I'm like, I can just take the subway map. And I pulled up my phone and pulled up an actual, like, New York subway map, and I was like, how many stops do I, and I overthought it, right? But, like, they still kind of considered that when they did that, and I was like, man, I want more games to, like, actually build a public transit system, because I feel like that'd be super cool to actually, like, be able to apply real world knowledge to an in-game city, especially a game that would pull New York or San Francisco, like another big city with public transit like that. Yeah. But also, I just kind of want a New York simulator in VR that I can just wander around. Just want to go, like, walk through New York, go to a museum, wander through a park, just ride the subway. Like, if I just wanted to spend 42 hours in a week in VR riding the subway in New York, let me do that. But those are the things for me as I kind of played through. Like, the characters were the characters, right? There's some oddballs, there's some things, but the thing that stood out to me was just, like, the stuff you could do within the world. Like, you could actually pay a ticket to get into the subway, or you could jump the thing if you wanted to. Like, it's up to you. Did you guys have anything that stood out like that in the world itself that felt real or neat or a nice touch?
Yeah, I think it was, for me, it was one, was it not Chinatown? It was like the one bigger area where, like, every corner had like a map of like the area, and like seeing the "you are here" and kind of mapping it out that way.
Yeah.
And then also, like, not only do you have that map online, we did not play multiplayer. Not only do you have that map in the in like the pause menu, but, like, if you go to the subway station, you can call, like, a help desk. And, like,
I didn't know that.
And, like, get, like, directions to the objective you need to get to. I think, like, one of them would be, like, Paulie's Mansion or something like that. So that, again, breaking realism. But, yeah, I never really used it. I just accidentally stumbled upon it. But, yeah, no, there was a whole option, like, how to get to it. It was, like, an operator-based thing. Not from a regular phone. It was somewhere else I found it. I can't remember the object now. But I was like, oh, that kind of leans into, like, the direction finding, because, yeah, like, in that one area you have all the street maps on the corners. But once you gotta get into the subway, you don't have anything, like, in game to kind of really help you out.
There's like a subway map, but you don't know where you really are or what. Yeah.
Once I got to the lay of the land, that pause menu made more sense to me, but that wasn't, like, halfway through the game where I was, like, finally realizing, like, what the hell is going on with the traveling and stuff.
Yeah,
and again, like, I don't know, I've said it a couple times on air, I'm kind of getting tired of the fast travel waypoint stuff that you see in a lot of open world games. So I did not like the layout of this for, like, the first half of the game, but kind of once I wrapped my mind around it, I was kind of appreciating how it was built. Now, the fact that we were going from, like, extreme, like, end to end constantly with the mission structure was a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
But if that wasn't the case, it was more like in the neighborhood kind of stuff, I actually would have liked this a lot more, I think.
Yeah, I think, like, if they'd added, like, 4 more subway stops to this, and you could, like, actually ride the subway appropriately, or, like, that would have been really neat. Like,
and listen to Jackie talk about riding the subway. I forget his dumb line. Riding the subway is like.
I gotcha. Hold on. I swear I wrote it down.
And that's the second time I died.
Yeah. Oh. Anyone who says the subway is dangerous hasn't ridden in the back of a taxi cab going 100 miles an hour with a... So stupid. I had to hear it so many times.
Those vignettes, too, like the ones where he doesn't talk and he's just sitting in a chair staring at his guns with, like, the smoke in the background. It's like...
Which is what I do most days, too. I get it.
Yeah, sure.
Pop on my leather duster. Mark, what about you? Anything in the world help to ground you a bit or make you feel more like Jackie Estacado?
I have one appropriate answer and then one other detail that is just video gamey that I liked.
Yeah.
So the appropriate answer, I liked when you're visiting your girlfriend, and there's a lot of ways to go about it. More than I thought. Like, you can choose what to tell her. You can choose to withhold that you are a hitman.
Right.
She baked you a cake for your birthday and everything, and you can choose to either tell her the truth and she doesn't quite believe you off the bat, or like don't tell her at all, or like you have to go make a phone call. But before you make a phone call, you can just sit on the couch with her and watch a movie. Like, she wants to watch a movie with you, and you can just do that. Like, you can just sit there, watch To Kill a Mockingbird all the way through. I did it. I mean, I didn't quite get the credits because I had to go to work, but I sat there for like an hour.
I love that.
And it's like, it's the full legit movie. I was like, that's probably why this game took so long to install. But but like, when she's there, there's a couple scripted animations that she does that they feel they happen a little too quickly, but like, it was cool that it happened. Like, you kind of play with each other's hands for a second. She leans her head on your shoulder. She talks about like just like appreciating each other, just like, just shit that couples would say to each other. And then like, you make out for like 10 seconds. It's a really awkward camera view, just seeing like her nose and above coming into your face, and like,
yeah,
hold on to that for a little longer than I expected. I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to turn anything else, is it? And it doesn't. She just kind of lays her head on your lap for like the rest of the movie. So I'm assuming she like fell asleep. But at any point during all of that, you can just choose to get up and go to the phone and progress the game. But the fact that you're able to take those pauses, take those beats, and just kind of embrace that a little more is a very nice touch. And it's weird that like a lot of things like that, like I feel like a lot of that in this game isn't. It's cool if you think about it and it works, but there isn't a lot to really push you into wanting to do a lot of that more, I feel, because of the type of game it is. You're more inclined to just kind of run and shoot.
It makes you want to, like, overall the game's constantly telling you not to slow down and just keep moving forward, but also, like, there's an achievement if you stay on the couch with her long enough to watch that movie. Like, it popped for me.
Okay, I had a feeling I should have, like, I think my Xbox, like, I had it on when I went to work, so I'll come back and watch it, and
you
the
probably
Xbox
got
shut off on me.
No, if you made it as far as you did into To Kill a Mockingbird, you probably, because it was not long, like, basically right after she falls asleep, I saw the achievement pop, and then right after that, the option to get up popped. So I was like, I'm gonna get up. I got an achievement. I think that's all I need to do for this.
The other answer that I have, you can just shut people up by killing them. Beginning of the game, when you get your pistols from your one friend who's dying, middle top, boom, didn't care what you had to say.
I did the same thing. I was going to bring that up because I forgot to mention that. But yeah, no, I was just shocked when that happened. Yeah. They'd have let me do it.
And then you go in the subway after that first section, and that guy pops up. He's like, I'm a friend of your family. Hey! It's like, you got a second? I'm like, no. Pop! And that's it. No starting over. The cops didn't give a shit. That was it. You just keep going. I was like, all right.
There are side missions in the game as well, which I assume you're probably locking yourself out of some of those with some permanents. But yeah, there's no fanfare around it, which I guess I like. I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel like a video game that there's no fanfare. Like, there's no big fail state, but also like
it's strange that it just lets you. Yeah, like it lets you do that, and then it's just like, all right, that's a thing that happened.
Yeah, that's it.
It is what it is.
Yeah. No, pulling the trigger on that guy. What? I didn't think it was gonna let me do it. But no, I was. Bang, dead. All right, we're moving on with this game.
If anything, you did him a favor, right? Because he was suffering.
Yeah,
that's kind of why I did it. I just didn't think it would let me do it.
I thought he was going to ask me to kill him. I didn't kill him. Yeah. I just kind of went out of the room, and I was like, all right, we'll come back to him, and then never did.
Thank you. Bang. Oh, yeah. Whoops. Gun safety 101, guys.
there are some things, speaking of like the video gaminess of it, that stand out as like a little weird. There was a plot point or a moment in the story where you go to Jackie's aunt's house for the first time. And there's a line where she says, well, first off, she asks if he wants some minestrone, which is important, right? That's just you need to know that. But then like she's talking about the fallout with Paulie, and she's like, I know what happened, Jackie. And if you're playing the game, which you are because you're seeing this and hearing this, you see where his aunt's house is, and it's where you just were like 2 hours ago, walking by with tentacles out of your body, having a huge firefight with the police. Like, of course you know what's happening, ma'am. You live next to the restaurant that I just blew up like an hour ago. Like, if you... And there's like an ashtray on the table, like looking out the window right there. It's like, if you were just in here a couple hours ago, yeah, I know you know what happened. I don't know why you're so surprised. But that kind of stuff was weird. I did think that like the difficulty tended to spike a good bit throughout the game. Like, when I was playing on normal, I had considered playing through easy just to kind of like get through for the podcast, but I was like, let me just see how bad normal is. And I didn't think it was too bad until like randomly it was. And usually it wasn't too many retries, but like a couple moments stood out to me, like the scene after I'll just say the scene in the church with the police captain, if you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That part when like the lights are out and you need to like really start summoning and really kind of optimize your route of taking out the SWAT team or whatever, that got a little taxing. I had to really like run that a few times. There was another moment SWAT team wise where I forget where in the bathhouse, when I was like deep in the bathhouse, and you've got like the helicopter and people dropping in from the ceiling there. That also was kind of a bad spot because where the summon is for the Darkling, I kept summoning the gunner, and then I'd run in front of it and start to take out the SWAT, and then I'm dying, and I'm like, dang, dude, what's killing? I don't understand. That was when I learned that the gunner can hurt you. So, I don't know. Did you guys have that, or am I?
So I think that's my problem. There's a lot of cool ideas here, but I think that's my problem with the game. I never felt powerful. Like you could think, you're practically the Undertaker from the Ministry of Darkness in the WWE. Like, you're top dog, you should be, and you're not. And that's like, that's my one problem with it. The sections were hard. It was more like you had to like duck in and out of cover or find the darkness so you can see your little demon tentacles breathe into darkness or whatever, your visual cue was that they're recharging. And then like kind of poking back out. I mean, you don't really feel powerful until you get Black Hole, but even like it drains everything. It's such a risk-reward play when you use it that you have to be kind of careful when you do use it, which again defeats the whole like you should feel overpowered. I rather they would have went with like different types of enemies to make you utilize some stuff differently more than there's the way it played. And as far as shooting, I mean, it's a first-person shooter. It's janky. It's not like this isn't your best shooter mechanics from a video game of this era. But like I said, I don't know if the difficulty spikes were there, but more so just the gameplay. Like, I just never felt powerful.
I agree with that. I didn't even write that down, but that completely. Like, you'd never quite feel like you probably should. Mark, did you get that, or was there anything else gameplay? Did you feel like it was difficult at spots?
So it's kind of a mix with both of yours opinions. I played on easy because I couldn't even do... So my biggest obstacles were the controls. I was adjusting the sensitivity for my life and still could never find a comfortable movement in this game. I had auto aim turned all the way up.
Oh, I didn't know you could adjust that.
Yeah, and like it kind of works more against you than it favors. But like it felt weird to shoot people where like they fall down. Excuse me, they fall down as if they died, but then they still get back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for honestly, the movement, and the aiming was so difficult for me with this game, and it kind of took me out of it for most of it. But yeah, like I didn't feel powerful at all. Like shooting some people, it was kind of quicker since it was on easy. But yeah, overall, just any of those high action segments, I would never looked forward to them. It was always like the in betweens that I liked more. Funny enough, and I think it being first person didn't help in my case. I think had Jackie been third person and maybe doing like the creeping dark, still keep that in first person or something like that, probably would have been a little differently. Because now I'm thinking, like, since we brought up the Max Payne comparison, I kind of wish it was a little more like that in terms of the gameplay. I feel like the aiming would have been a little easier, or just moving around wouldn't have felt as jarring to me. Because it was just it needed some polish. It was a little rough.
Yeah, there's definitely like some moments where just overall like the enemies felt weird, or their interactions felt strange. The way that even moving the creeping dark, like it was so specific that that was a little odd. And the fact that you did have such a reliance on shooting out streetlights made it because shooting out streetlights is not an easy thing. Like maybe I probably should have played with auto aim. I didn't realize that you could crank that up, because it does kind of auto aim into a light when you get near it, right? But like it just, I feel like I had to fuss with it so much. Like I'd waste so many bullets. Like did I I missed, or
even with the auto aim,
the right angle sometimes. Like
yeah, that's the problem. The auto aim doesn't guarantee you get that angle. You still have to like walk underneath.
It will also overcorrect, and like like it'll be at it, but then all of a sudden it'll just like move away from it real quick or something. Like it gets a little spotty.
There's one of the things that like kind of I think told me everything about enemy behavior and just encounters in this game and combat. The scene right before the boat, I think, is actually pretty indicative. If you try and do the boat all guns, like I did that, I ended up trying that a few times, and I did it with the Creeping Dark in my final run just to see what I could do with it. But right before that, even the lead up where you kind of come out of the tunnel to Pier 19 and you're walking across, there's two guys that are talking like right outside of the tunnel. There's another guy who's behind a car, and there's another guy up on a bridge. And I know it so intimately because I did it so many times running back and forth, but like I kind of got into a habit of jump over the rail, take out those two guys, run left. The guy at the car should be running to my right. I can sweep around and pop him, and then just go up to the bridge, wait for my auto aim to kind of lock into that guy and hit him. And then like I hit a point where I don't know, I changed it up randomly. And like changing up who you kill first or how you engage a fight really did play out differently, which I thought was neat, but also like wildly insane the way that some of these characters would react to gunshots or lack thereof. Or if I shoot that one, like this guy seems way overpowered, like just his angle, like he's got such a better vantage point on me than he should or you'd think he would. Yeah, I don't know, but none of it was ever like bad that it was offensive. Like I'm trying to think of a bad shooting game that I had a rough time with.
Different game.
And like, I don't think this was that. This never like got in its own way bad, you know?
No, I thought you were going to say the house shootout. That said Ant's house.
That sucked too, because
I think the scripting was bad. I think like that was when like the game was really showing some of its jank in the way enemy AI was and some scripting.
I kept having to like run to different corners to see if I could get gunshots to go off.
My biggest problem was finding the last dude in some obscure behind the car angle.
The only way I found him is because Aunt Sarah, is that her name? Aunt Sarah?
She was shooting out the window.
She was shooting out the window, and I was like, oh, that's where the dude is. So I ran over there and found him tucked behind a thing and got him. But yeah, it was stupid.
And then I think my favorite, just like, again, the jank and some of like just the character talking animations that happen. But right after that shootout's over, when the butcher comes in and he lifts that
was so stupid.
Bookcase with one arm.
One arm.
I was done after that. Yeah, no, that whole scene just kind of put the nail in the coffin. It was like, this game has some rough edges. There's some stuff here, but it's a little rough.
Yeah.
That killed me. That you're leading me into my next point, which this game is available via backwards compatibility on Xbox. It's usually on sale. It's $20, I think, but it's usually on sale for like $5. I really encourage you, if you've not played it, it's worth checking out for something from that era, I think. However, the screenshot functionality does not work. And when you look up the error code you get when trying to take a screenshot, it seems like it's a generic, like, screenshot thing failed error code, but it's one that Xbox assigns when a game has not been, I guess, whitelisted to allow screenshots. So although this game is available via backwards compatibility, they've not flipped the switch to allow that stuff to happen. I guess there's probably a licensing thing, is my assumption. Not sure.
I just assumed you couldn't do it in an Xbox 360 shell because it didn't have it back then. But okay, I did not know that. I didn't know it got that specific.
I've had it work for other 360 games, so that's why I was like, it should work. Because there were a lot of things I wanted to take pictures of.
Oh yeah, I tried.
The both of you. Where I couldn't, I instead started writing them down. So I just have the phrase Satan's bunghole written down. Don't know why or where that was, because I don't have a screenshot to back it up. I think my all-time favorite is just the poster that said, "I die without my Diet Sulo." And I love like all the fake brands, like the Diet Sulo being a thing, ruled. Also, the red balloon graffiti. Did you guys find that in the subways? I just kept seeing the little kid with the red balloon. I didn't know if there was a significance to that or something.
So was it like Banksy art or something?
It kind of had a bit of that to it. I don't know. It was weird. I just kept seeing it, and I don't know. Yeah, I feel like a different game mechanic for this would have been like find all of the locations of this and take a, you know what I mean? Like in a modern game where you have a cell phone, they'd probably want you to take a picture of each one.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought it was maybe just signifying like, hey, does it exit out of here? Kind of like
that could, it could have been that too. It just, there were like all these little moments like that stood out.
A lot of reused assets.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you have any other like things within there that you wished you could have screenshotted?
I know I definitely tried hitting it at least once each of my like 3 major play sessions with this game for something, and I couldn't. It wouldn't let me. I can't remember anything sticking out too much. I did want to mention the sound mixing, especially very early on. That was all over the place. One line was like delivered at high volume, then the next line wasn't. Did anyone else get that?
Yeah, I think. Are you talking about with Jackie specifically, or other people? Because it was.
I think other people, but it was messy. Like it was a wherever
proximity error. Like
like
they were trying to do some like spatial sound where like Jackie's distance to a character would dictate their volume, and I feel like it was miscalculating the position of the player.
Or like one sounded clear, but one sounded like they weren't in a recording booth. They were just like
that
too. Yeah.
It was a little strange.
But
I just kind of expected it.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, that's 2007. Like, you know.
Yeah.
The other, I think, detail with sound and visual was in addition to being able to watch To Kill a Mockingbird in its entirety, having just like Max Fleischer cartoons or Flash Gordon or stuff, like that was like neat little touches that did not need to do, but it was neat that it happened. The only other... Yeah.
You go ahead, because you might be getting to it.
Oh, no, my other thing is stupid. It's me saying that the mission when you had to go to City Hall Station and kind of walk underground through New York, did that also make any of you want to just go get a job at the New York subway and Just walk around in tunnels for the rest of your
No.
life? No, didn't have that.
But I do like how, was it like Gun Hills or something like that? One of the locations, it very much encouraged you to keep going at that maintenance way. Straight across the track. Like it would have been fine if it was like you had to go there one time, but you had to revisit like 3 times.
It was pretty good. Now I just gotta go find secrets in the subway.
No, I wouldn't. The collectible system is very dumb in a good way in this game. I'd be remiss if we didn't bring that up here. Just finding a collectible is just a phone number. You go to payphone and dial in some crazy something on the other end.
It's always something wild, and then you're rewarded with like a piece of concept art back in the main menu or something. Those were cute. And then if you went, if you were back in the World War I chapters, the collectibles, instead of them being phone numbers on the ground, they were letters.
Yeah, that you could mail. Yeah,
and you could mail them, and then you unlock the collectible that way. So that was interesting. And then my final thing is that the day that I beat the game, I was driving through the city, and I kept looking, and I was like, I gotta shoot that light. Like, I kept thinking, I had the impulse that, like, I had to go shoot out these lights. And I was like, wait, I don't have a gun. I don't... Probably wouldn't be appreciated if I shot out the light.
The final bit of the game I played, like, half hungover, and it felt metaphoric in a way, playing the game that way.
I can see that. Yeah, that's fitting narratively. You really role played your time as Jackie in that. I liked this a lot. I am actually intrigued to try the second one. I did not check to see. Maybe I'll do that as we're pulling up our list to rank everything. But I'll see if the second one is available for folks to try digitally.
That is more available and accessible. It's on Steam and
other
stuff. Yeah.
This one is also on Steam, or no? I thought this one. No. Oh, it's not.
Only on PS3 and the 360.
This game was the only reason why I held onto my Xbox for as long as I did.
Wow. Yeah.
No, the second one is also. It might not still be there, but it was on Mac OS X.
Oh my gosh. Okay, did not know that. The second one I do know is developed by our Digital Extremes, the fine folks behind the Warframe video game. I don't know if Jackie's out there slipping and sliding or not, but...
Well, I think that's where his costume is.
It did, yeah. It went there and nowhere else. Well, we've reached the moment in the podcast where we rank this video game against the rest of the video games on the list. You want to see all of the other 60 plus video games we've ranked? Check out thefreecheese.com/the-list. Oh boy. What are we thinking for this one?
I'll throw out something. Let's go to our old favorite, Devil's Crush.
I think I like it better than crap, maybe not. I was gonna say and then I saw Disaster Report 4, and I like Disaster Report 4 over this, but I know you guys definitely don't. So maybe this is over Devil's Crush.
I don't know. I
didn't
like Devil's Crush more, for sure. Do I like it more than Disaster Report? I don't know.
This is that...
I had my issues with Disaster Report, but I felt better about progressing in that game.
Fair.
I think I'd rather play this over Disaster Report 4, although I did like Disaster Report 4.
Yeah, like gameplay-wise, this is easier to play than Disaster Report 4. I think just mobility through that game makes it tough to like...
It was just the controls really took it out for me. Just the movement, and that's like half the game.
Most of it, but like this, it never feels bad to get around necessarily. There's some light platforming in that one section when you have to run away from the...
Where the hell did that come from? I forgot to write that down. Yeah,
But even that wasn't like the worst. I mean,
you're not a good jumper in the darkness.
No, and it's probably.
Well, I definitely died because I jumped off a roof because I thought that's where I had to go. No.
Definitely need like a sprint button somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm almost looking in the perfect dark range, like right above perfect dark, maybe.
That's a tale of two. That's
like
two
Perfect
different
Dark
stories right there. Because Perfect Dark I like for the multiplayer, not the single player.
Yeah, true. And I didn't touch the multiplayer in this.
I like Perfect Dark's gameplay a little more.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and Perfect Dark has a laptop gun. Let me not forget. All right, let me fall back down. I think I like Disaster Report 4 over this on the whole. I know gameplay wise, maybe not.
Yeah, like despite my issues with it, I think I can agree with that.
Do we like this over Rogue?
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that the spot?
I mean, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
All right. Then let's lock it in. Right between Disaster Report 4, Summer Memories, and Rogue. And we've added another to the list. As I update this and fumble, I'll let you two share your final thoughts. And what do you think? Are you interested in playing The Darkness 2, Mark?
Yeah. I didn't know there was 4-player co-op in that, so I'm curious how that even works. I want to compare and contrast. I like to assume that the gameplay and movement is better, especially with a mouse and keyboard. I think honestly, if this first game was on PC, I think it would have killed a lot of my gameplay issues. I think just by using a mouse, like I think it would have felt so much better aiming with that versus a controller. But yeah, no, I'm definitely curious to try that out. Even though he still probably doesn't have his cool costume, but yeah, I mean, it definitely makes me curious. I definitely want to go back and check out the comics now, and it definitely wants me to explore a lot more.
Yeah,
I think overall, like the game has a lot of good ideas, and I like the little bells and whistles that it throws in there. But I think that came at a price of like some lack of polish in some areas.
Yeah, I think
it's
that's
definitely
fair.
worth a try.
Matt, how about you? Darkness 2?
I don't see me going to it at any point, but I'm more open to it knowing that now there's not a third game published by THQ Nordic. So, so that has that going for it. Again, it's not a bad game. I'm curious I'm hoping that the second one has a bit more polish to it, although it is a new developer, which kind of concerns me. But I think if this game had a lot more polish, I would have liked it a little bit better, which hopefully the second one has. And if it is, I can see me really enjoying it.
Yeah. I'm curious. I don't know. Maybe next we'll get a Witchblade video game. Maybe that's in the works somewhere.
I'll get my hopes up.
Well, until they make a Witchblade comic, we'll be back next week with episode 514 and Super Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.